and welcome to StrandExplains. My name is Sakshi Shingle, and today I'm joined by Donald Benson, the Director of Sales North America here at Strand Life Sciences. Hi, Don. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Sakshi. And yourself?
I'm doing great, thanks. So Don here is, like I mentioned, the Director of Sales for North America at Strand. He did his bachelor's in biochemistry, and went on to graduate from Rutgers University with nearly 40 years of experience in over a dozen biotech companies. We're really excited to have him speak with us today about what sales in the healthcare industry, especially in the biotech industry, is really like. So, Don, like I mentioned, you started off doing biochemistry in your bachelor's and graduate, but now you're a director of sales. Can you maybe talk us through your journey going from a student of biochemistry and pharmacology to a sales representative? That is maybe not the most traditional career journey, and I'm just very interested in it.
Sure. Always had an interest in biology, and when I was in undergraduate, ended up taking a nutritional biochemistry course and fell in love with the whole concept of biochemistry. Subsequently changed my major to biochemistry to take a full year of biochemistry and also a bunch of other chemistry courses. And just really was focused in on that. Upon graduation, I was recruited to a relatively large drug company to do central nervous system research, drug development, as a biochemical pharmacologist, doing a lot of receptor-based work. And actually it was a great experience for me, 5 years actually working in the industry. But after 5 years, I looked around and I saw how the molecular biology space was actually evolving at that time. And there was a tremendous need for people with high level of technical knowledge from a sales perspective for that industry. And I was, decided to make a pivot and go into the sales and marketing side of the business as opposed to actually doing the laboratory work. And, it's really been a great, 35 plus years that I've been doing this and really have seen some really interesting things occur over that period of time within the industry.
I see. That's so interesting to hear. And I can definitely attest to the fact that when I'm lucky enough to be on other calls with you, it's always so fun to get to hear your stories about the different people you've encountered and, the different things you've seen. So one thing you mentioned was when you were doing your biochemistry major, you noticed that people in sales roles typically may not have had at that time as much expertise. So how has your biochemistry background informed the way you speak to customers? Does it, has it really helped? How does that play a role when you make sales pitches?
Yeah, it's actually been a real benefit because I can understand what the client's needs are almost immediately. And that really helps guide my sales approach with them because I've always felt that, selling to a client's needs is really the most important thing. And if you can understand specifically what they're doing and what you might have that's available to help them in their research efforts, that makes it much easier. So yeah, the biochemistry background has given me that edge, if you will, in dealing with clients in a very technical marketplace.
That totally makes sense. And so what was it that really interested you in the sales and business side of things? As someone who's done a genetics major, I don't think that I'm not great at selling things, but I think it's such a cool move to make. And I was wondering, what was it that first got you interested in the sales and business side of things?
So very interesting history there, because when I was doing biochemical pharmacology, I spent a lot of time always trying to get the best products into the laboratory for our own research work. So I had developed a really good knowledge base of that. And I found other people in our department coming to me, asking me, hey, where can I, get these different, reagents or different products, and I would help them out with that. So, the whole idea of being able to help people do their own research work was really appealing to me and made that transition kind of easy for me to go from behind the bench, if you will, to on the other side of the bench, helping individuals find the right products and or services for their research work. So, that's kind of how, it happened. And, for me, it's been just a great experience.
That's so great to hear. And I think it also just speaks to how versatile our industry is. So typically when you tell someone you're going to do going to do college in a science major, their first thought is, oh, you're just going to go sit behind a bench, like you said. But there is so much scope to do so much more, whether it's sales and marketing, whether it's bioinformatics. There's just so much out there. And I think this is a very cool case. Your career is such a cool case study that speaks to that and speaks to how fascinating and great a career it can be. So like you mentioned, you've been in this industry for about 35 years now, over 35 years now. And, there's been a lot of change in the biotechnology and genetics industry. The Human Genome Project came out. Cas-CRISPR is now such a big deal. So with all of that, what do you think has been the biggest change in the industry you've seen? And how has that changed the way you do business?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. And when I first started in my career, I think at least for commercial entities, I'll speak to the commercial entities that I was dealing with rather than necessarily academic or government institutes, but mostly the commercial side of things. Those commercial entities had a tendency to do everything internally. Okay, if they couldn't do it themselves, they weren't going to do it. So their purchases were really product based, almost exclusively product based. Over the years, that's actually changed significantly in the pharmaceutical and biopharmaceutical world, where I'd estimate that at minimum 50% of what these companies do is actually outsource services. So that's probably been one of the biggest changes that I've seen occur over the years. I can speak to one very large pharma company who, back when I first started, their mantra was, if we can't do it, we're not going to do it. And then less than 20 years later, they were outsourcing 65 to 70% of the work to other companies as opposed to doing it internally. So that I would say has been one of the biggest changes that I've seen in the industry. The idea of using companies who have very specific service portfolios to actually help those companies, these larger companies, do the work for them.
That's really interesting to hear. And I think through all these various interviews I've done, one thing I have seen come out as a theme again and again is collaboration, and how important collaboration is to science and how fundamental it is. And I think this is just another great example, like you're saying. That's something I hadn't even considered. But yeah, it makes sense that as we progress, we just become more collaborative in nature, both from an academic side and an industry side. So that's so cool. So I feel like you can't have a podcast in today's day and age without bringing up COVID. It feels wrong. And of course, the last year has been unprecedented in the way we've been dealing with the global pandemic. And you actually joined, both of us really joined during the pandemic. So I wonder what your onboarding was like, having to do it both online and across the country. So you are currently sitting in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sitting in Karnataka in India. So, a lot of our team, our business development team, is sitting here. So what has that onboarding been like for you, both in terms of just being online, being in a different time zone, and so on?
So that's, again, another really good question. And I will say that our leadership at Strand has been fantastic. It made my onboarding process seamless, easy. Everything that I needed, I mean, was provided to me through the internet, in PDFs, whenever I needed to have something that I felt I was lacking, I just sent an email and, within the day or at worst the next day I had it. I got used to the idea of virtual meetings and, regular cadence calls with my counterparts in India. So the onboarding process, even though, we were dealing with a global pandemic, was probably one of the easiest that I have. And I attribute that to the great, leadership that we have at Strand.
That's great to hear. And I mean, I can definitely second that. Like I said, I think I joined within a week or two of you, and I had it a little easier being in the same time zone. But yes, definitely the leadership and just the company culture, I think, definitely helped. And following on from that, how do you think the sales experience has changed online, where as far as my understanding is, a lot of sales is typically in person. You go meet someone, you might join a conference or something. It's a very personal process that happens. How have you had to adapt to all of that being online and having to really change up the way you conduct business?
To be quite frank, it's been probably one of the hardest things for me because I have been so used to face-to-face meetings with clients, and doing it virtually, it's not my favorite thing. But we all have had to change our ways a little bit during the last 12 to 14 months plus months. And that's just been the nature of things. I think there now is, at least here in the States, a little bit more return to normalcy, although we're not meeting necessarily face-to-face with clients. I'm predicting that probably within the next year or perhaps shorter time frame, we will see that happening again. But then again, a lot of clients are still working virtually themselves. So until they go back to their own offices, having face-to-face meetings are going to have to be put on hold. I know for a fact one company that it's a biopharma company. I spoke with them last year, and this was a leader for them in their bioinformatics data sciences group. And he was quite upfront and said, the company has been talking about, at least at that time, about, the 100+ individuals within the group not returning to their offices at all, but, remaining virtual. So that may in fact happen in some instances, but my hope is that at some point, most people will return so that I can get off of the, this screen and the little green light peering at me and actually meet with the clients face to face.
Definitely. And I think seconded, I know that there's a lot of talk of even a hybrid work situation where some people go in, some people don't. And honestly, I'd prefer that as well. My entire career journey so far has been online. I started working 10 months ago, and I've not met anyone in my team yet. And like, this is all the interaction we've had. And I'd love to, get to meet even you face to face. So I definitely second that. And I think it's incredible that you've been able to adapt so well, given everything. It's really cool. And so maybe just to finish out this podcast, I was wondering if you could tell me about one takeaway you've had so far in your career in this industry. What is one thing, that's really stuck with you, and maybe a piece of advice you'd want to give other people starting out in this industry?
Yeah, I think that the thing that's, in my opinion, critical is maintaining one's, posture in this industry has always been something that I've focused on. So I'm always learning. I'm always open to, learning new things. And I've had, a lot of opportunities to learn. I've touched a lot of different technologies over the course of my career in sales. And with each job that I've had, I've taken away knowledge that has helped me be a better salesperson and to be able to address customer needs. So I think this is a key takeaway for anyone going into sales. Be very open-minded, be very true to your clients, and make sure you're, being the best that you can be.
That's great advice and so great to hear. Thank you so much, Don. I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you for taking the time out to talk to me. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Well, thank you for allowing me to do this.
Of course. And I'd love to have you back sometime. Maybe we could get into some of your sales stories and learn just more about your fascinating history.
That would be great. Would be great.
Thanks so much. Well, have a good evening.
Yeah.
Oh, good morning. Sorry, you're on the other side. Have a good morning.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.